I'm starting the next siman. Perhaps this is from the most difficult short simanim in Shulchan Aruch, meaning to say, to grasp what's really going on. I believe that most people have a distorted understanding of what does it mean to ask mechila. I'm going to start with the first word in the title of the siman. Sheyispayis Adam Chaveru Be'erev Yom Kippur. Would you like to translate?
Peace.
Appease and make peace are not the same thing. Let's put it this way. If I'm not sure the word I was to say right now is Emir Hashem or not. Emir Hashem or Chalila, I'm not sure. If Israel makes peace with the Hezbollah, Yesh Pius? What? We must say Emir Hashem or Chas v'Shalom. What am I supposed to say?
Cold peace.
Right? Peace just means that you're not at war. What does to appease mean?
To get someone to forgive you.
It means more than that.
Start anew.
It means more than that. I don't know if first of all, you can never. There's no such thing as. I would like to share with you something from Rav Hutner. This is not a halacha thought. This is much greater, so to speak, than halacha thought. In what it embraces. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. It says it in the Torah, right? This is not to be contradicted. Salachti kidvarecha. Is that clear? So we get punished right now. Every punishment that we have, part of it is for the Chet HaEgel. Hello? Salachti kidvarecha.
Salachti doesn't mean it's like
That's like a pretty good raya, right? So Rav Hutner explained this with a mashal. This mashal is what I call ga'inus. Why? Because the mashal is so spot on. He's my friend, and I have a secret that's really an amazing secret. So I say, Gil, I'd like to share the secret with you, but promise me that you're not going to tell anyone, because if you tell somebody, I can be damaged by it. And I know you're going to have a big nisayon. Do you want me to tell you the secret? And what do you say? Of course. So then I tell you the secret, and you cannot withstand the temptation. Okay? And you tell whoever it is. And then I become damaged. What do you feel like? Horrible.
betrayed.
Now, I feel betrayed.
Right?
Right? I feel horrible. You feel horrible. And you come to me and you say, in total earnestness, Rabbi Zachariash, I'm really sorry. And you mean it. Genuine. Okay? Are you sorry? You're sorry. And I say, Gil, I understand and I forgive you. So far, so good. Now, another time, another secret comes. Will I give it to... What do you mean?
Once burnt.
No, that's called luchashnias. Salachti kidvarecha, but we don't go back to luchas rishaynis. We have created a new reality, and there's no... Was that mechayu?
Yeah.
Mechayu? So what? No, it's not. This is a fascinating mashal. This is a Hutner's mashal. I think that it's genius because it encompasses so much of the pathos that people have in emotion and brings clarity. Okay, so when I am mephias somebody, what I am doing is I am appeasing them, speaking to them, cajoling them to reinstate the relationship. That is by a million miles past mechila. And the obligation is to ask for pius, to make pius. I heard once a raya to this. This is very important because this is really very important in all interactions of asking forgiveness. The Gemara tells us about Rav, that Rav there was a butcher that did something against him, so Rav went to the butcher, so the butcher should ask mechila, and Rav's Talmud said, don't go, because you're going to kill him, and Kitzur went and he killed him. Understand, why didn't Rav just be mechil him in his place? Why was Rav going to the butcher so that the butcher should ask mechila? Pius. Mechila is not enough. Right? Now we're going to learn a Mishnah Berurah. We're going to see it inside. It's a very important Mishnah Berurah. I send Gil to ask mechila from somebody else. Is it equal to, greater than, or less than me asking the person mechila myself? But a second, it's not. That's true too. But as I was teaching a class, I'd say you missed the point. I asked a question based on that which we learned until now. Can that bring about pius? No, even it may bring about mechila, but to bring about pius, there's a piece that's missing over here. No, it's not. Besides the cheap way out, I agree. I agree that could be true too, but there's something lacking. So, in other words, we really have an obligation, if you may, to so to speak, to try to put Humpty Dumpty back together again as much as you can, not just clean the slate, because there's no such thing as cleaning the slate. That's my introduction. I think after this introduction, much of what we're going to read will jump out of the page, and otherwise it wouldn't have, just like verbiage. Okay, so we're going to read over here.
Isn't this what we're saying the other day? What we're saying is different levels of forgiveness to bear on us, the lachal on us.
Yes.
It's like a rising levels.
But all of those things have to do with asking slicha, mechila, and kapara. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something beyond.
Pius is a higher level than those from.
Way higher. You know what? Let's speak about human beings, okay? Forget about Shulchan Aruch. I did something to you, and you said, Rabbi Zachariash, I really forgive you. And then I send you flowers for Shabbos. Why did I send you flowers for Shabbos? Because I don't believe you that you forgave me? I'm not sending you flowers. Okay? Shimon, it's not happening. Okay?
It's like a confirmation that the relationship.
And if I send it to you the next week too? And this is done.
Seems to be less, because it's less immediate, it's already.
But what are we trying to achieve?
Though I've said restore.
So that's what I say. It has nothing to do with mechila. Mechila we passed the checkpoint of mechila already, right?
Well, mechila, kapara, slicha. What I forget which is the highest level, but one of them means like.
Machlokes. Yeah, which is
that's like a restoration of the relationship. No, it's not.
It could be. It's according to some, yeah. but this is a you have to get there. That's much more than than asking forgiveness. You understand?
Yeah, how do you do that in a half a day anyway? Isn't this? It seems to me this kind of thing happens. It takes a lot of time. You know, people go through this. These therapies and stuff.
I can only say that I enjoy your question.
Okay.
I cannot answer your question. But at the same time, and I respect the question, I'll say, and mechila can. In other words, you made it sound like mechila, that we could do, no big deal.
It's easier to do mechila than a short
I want to tell you something. It depends what the guy did.
Pardon?
It depends what the guy did.
Yeah.
Most, when I cut you in line, right? We could probably get mechila and appease all in one sitting, right? It depends on the enormity of the infraction, right? But you talk about something which is serious. From the things that I hold dear to my heart is the following story. Somebody did something to Rabbi Elya Lapian that destroyed his life, so to speak. Something major. And the person came to Rabbi Elya Lapian and asked for mechila. And Rabbi Elya Lapian thought about it, and he said, "I'm sorry, I cannot be mechila you. I don't have it in me to be mechila you. Come back in a month." So the guy came back in a month, and Rabbi Elya was mechila him on the spot. So somebody was there, asked Rabbi Elya, why'd you torture the guy and have him come back? So I didn't torture the guy, have him come back. He asked me to mechila him, and I couldn't. I didn't want to. I wasn't there. And then I made a cheshbon hanefesh. It's worthwhile they came here tonight to hear what I'm about to say right now. He said, a yid is asking me mechila, and I have to tell him no. There's something wrong with me. So he was makabel on himself a Musar Seder for a month to work on himself, to bring himself to the point that he could be mechila. Well, was Kedai coming here tonight to hear that story? Yeah. It's a you did something to me, and now I have to work.
But mechila is just on one side of the thing, which is the Rabbi Lapian. When you're in appease, it's really a two-sided relationship. If you want to restore the relationship that was before, it's not just enough for you to have it, the other person has to have it as well.
Yes, this is true, but I would like to share with you something from the other side. This is not so much halachadik, but it's really, you have to put things in perspective. You, Mr. Binder, are not what I'm looking at. You are a neshama. You're right now in a spacesuit called Mr. Binder, right? And this spacesuit is only here for a minimal amount of time of maximum 120 years, right? Like, in eternity, it's not even a dot. Okay? Now, of these 120 years that you're going to live in Mirz Hashem, somebody embarrassed you that you felt mortally embarrassed for 5 hours. Okay? And you have a right to feel embarrassed because he really did something that's terrible to you. Is it fair that you shouldn't forgive him and he should have to suffer for eternity?
That's forgiveness.
1 second. When you look at it in the perspective of what we really are and represent, it becomes very minor. And then once we see things in that light, this is very high madregas what I'm telling you. On paper this is very easy. This all makes perfect sense, but it doesn't go. All you have to do is do no more averos. I'm not right now saying that. How come you're not there? I'm just explaining to you that this is where we're supposed to be looking. So when you have that, and you see the person comes to you, and he really wants mechila, you should go and kiss him. He feels terrible. If you can't find it within you, there's something wrong. You understand? In other words, again, I don't want anybody to take what I'm saying serious. I want to take it very serious. But this is only how we're supposed to look at things. We have to deal with who we are, nebuch, and how frail and far we are from where we're supposed to be. But if you look at things like that, the person is coming to you and asking you, when I was a bocher in yeshiva, I asked my yeshiva the following question. This is an American question. This is terrible. And his answer was very Jewish, and it was very annoying. I asked him, I have a $100 bill here, and the ani comes around, and I want to give him 50 cents. So he says, for sure I have change. And he empties out all of his pockets of quarters. And he wants to give me 398 quarters. Am I mechuyev to give him tzedakah? So she looked at me and said, why not? It's like two different worlds, right? Is there any reason why I shouldn't give him tzedakah? I mean, all mitzvahs have to be easy? We're not right now learning tzedakah. I'm just, where are you? If you would understand what it's going to do for you to give tzedakah, it's a bargain to walk around with 398 quarters. Okay, anyways. Okay, what?
This must be frowned.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, that's the...
It's the difference between the mechila and the appease that to do with tshuva meir and tshuva me'ava.
No.
The tshuva meir mitigates it.
Well, the answer to the question is that, first of all, we're speaking right now about bein adam l'chaverei. We're not speaking about adam bein adam l'mokom. But the answer to the question is that the more sincere you mean it, the better chance of gaining it. So, if the answer, in a certain sense, is yes, but in bein adam l'chaverei, whether it's tshuva me'ira or tshuva me'ava, those are only going to be catalysts to how you act. They are not the tshuva itself. It's the way you're going to address and try to placate and soothe the person that you did something wrong to. Anyways.
Don't we have another path as well to achieve is appease? Don't we through that tefillah that we say every Yom Kippur before mechila, tefillah sukkah?
No such thing.
Yeah?
No such thing.
I thought the language of that.
No such thing. You have taken out of context a tefillah.
That's why I'm glad I asked.
If someone, I don't know, is there a machzor here in this shul?
Tefillah zakah?
Yeah.
I think there's something here.
What it says over there is that we ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He put it into the heart of that person, perhaps to be mefayez you. There's no tefillah does not do piyus. It doesn't.
It's Yom Kippur.
Okay, well, does it have tefillah zakah? That's.
I don't know.
I'm not particular which machzor it is. I just yeah. So we have to know if he put it the right way or the wrong way. The new machzorim, they switched around the order. They put the end in the beginning.
Right. The art school has that.
Okay, let's see. This one is not at the end.
Is this one at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is one. This one.
This is near the end.
Yeah. It should be at the end of this one. He says you should table libam, that they should be. Tell us honor. This is before this. Alright, we'll find it for you. Anyways, it says over here that you should be mispal, they should put into their hearts that they should forgive you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not able to be mechila you for what he did to somebody else. You know, he punched him in the nose, so I'm mechila him. It doesn't work, right?
Well, like I thought, say for example, someone that you offended when you were in high school 40 years ago, you don't know where they are now, and this kind of thing.
So we find that tefillas that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have the person be mechila you. And I'll just share with you, this is off the subject, but this is the subject. I was with Rabbi Cutler, the Yeshiva Lakewood, in a car once, and we were listening to a tape. You know, when I don't know what.
Tapes.
When I was with Rabbi Cutler, it was it's all in a different centennial, and there was a lady who did not have children, and they went to all the doctors, and nobody could find out what's wrong with her. And she went to this one big doctor, who happened to be a Frum Yid, and he said to her, "Lady, there's nothing wrong with you. The reason you don't have children is because someone has a kapeda. Go and find out who the kapeda is." So this lady was already 35 years old, scouring her history to come up with a kapeda, and she goes back to elementary school, and she asks the principal if he knows of somebody in the school that has a kapeda on her. And he starts to think, and he says, perhaps. This is a very scary story. He said, when you were in 3rd grade, so there's a minig hatalmidim that you put a cup of water on the top of the door that's partially open, and when the teacher opens up the door, so the cup falls down. I don't know if they have this nusach in England too, but this was a popular, even in South America, South Africa. In South Africa. Anyways, so you put the cup there, and the teacher was supposed to come into the room, and the girl came in instead, and it fell on her. That girl was a Yesoma, and she came crying to me in my office, and she said people are picking on her, they're taking advantage of her because she doesn't have parents to help her out, and I had to calm her down. Perhaps she has a kapeda on you. And she sought out that person, asked him mechila, and the lady had a baby, Turk Shana. So Mechila was like frozen in his chair in the car. The girl who put the cup there, Bichlal, this girl messed it up. She didn't want it to fall onto the girl. It wasn't a vile act to the girl. She got stuck in the crossfire. And yet, so we never know. So we don't always have the principle to go and ask to unearth the kapedas that people have on us. So we're mispalel that Kadosh Baruch Hu should give them the graciousness to be meichel. But that's the cheap way out, and we're going to see the Mishnah Berurah discusses the cheap way out. This is not an optional. If you could have gone the regular way and you went the other way, you don't get the full deal. You don't get the full whatchamacallit. This is like, I'm going to use this as in comparison. You're like saying, I can't face the guy and ask him mechila. I'm going to wait for him to die and then go to his grave. What do you say to the guy who does that? But it says in Shulchan Aruch that if you go to the guy's grave and ask him, right? You think it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. All right. Anyways, let's try to learn this halachas. Aver shevram mechaver en Yom Kippur mechaper ad sheifaiseno. Va'afilu miknito ela bidvarim tzarich lefaisai. This is a very important line because people think, so what did I do to him? So what did I do? So I made him the butt of a joke. Mayesh, grow up. What's the answer to that question? The answer to that question is there's an Isser Doraisa called Einos Dvorim. And we have to ask mechila for things that we did to people that are not only financially, even if they are emotional. Nowadays we live in a generation, there's an emotional abuse. There's not only physical abuse, there's emotional abuse. Right? So we come to recognize this as a existing item. So a person is mechuyev to ask mechila. V'meino faiz barishoina, yachzer v'yelech pam shniya v'shlishis. You have to go back 2 or 3 times. U'b'chol pam yikach imo shloisha anoshim. There's a procedure, they have to have other people there. V'eino mispayis v'shosha pamim einoi zokuk loy. What does that mean? Says the Ramah. Let's read the Ramah further. Mio yomer achach v'nei asara shebikesh v'menu mechila. You didn't get mechila, but you did as much as you're obligated to do. And we'll see the Mishnah Berurah says could be that the person should still try more. It's just not obligated. You know, there's over more than your obligation. Says the Mishnah Berurah. So even if it was just for words that you said, because it is over us the word. Gam b'shari bos hashana mechuyev lefayis misha pasha kenegdoi mikol mokom im ein doi panai hu mamtim lefayis ayam acher. I don't have to do it right away. I could push it off. Now, yesterday, someone called me with a question, and these are the questions that rabbis don't like. Rabbi gets many questions they don't like. This is one of them. Told me a horrible story about people in his family that verbally abused one of his children. And he said to me, we wrote them an email and they responded and they shirked responsibility and all this cat and mouse kind of a thing. And now it's before Rosh Hashanah. Am I mechuyev to be mechila them? And what's going to happen when they call me to say to me, have a good year, I'm not going to hang up on them, and I tell them I'm not mechila them? What am I supposed to do? These are real, you know, this is, it's not just a Torah shkafa, and it's not just, this has to do with text. What do we do? So I told the person, I didn't spend so much time with him as I am right now. You know, this wasn't within a context as we are right now. I said, I don't think that they're in a place to ask mechila, and I don't think you're in a place to give mechila. We need some time. But we need a perspective. So you should call them and avoid the subject. And if they bring it up, you say, we'll have to deal with that issue later on.
Have they stopped calling names?
No, whatever there was, whatever that interaction ended. Okay, but
just wasn't appealing.
yeah, and it was, it was a highly uncomfortable situation for many people. Now, did I answer correctly or not? So the answer to the question is that we, in my opinion, we have to achieve that we get mechila. And just saying that you're meichel doesn't help if you weren't. You understand? So it's not going to happen. And it's not expected to happen. So you have to defer it till a later time. So here we have a situation where you say sometimes, and this is, I say this many times in Shalom Bayis issues, I vehemently disagree with many therapists. Perhaps I am in agreement with many other therapists, I don't know. But one of the famous sayings is that you should not go to sleep on a fight. I disagree.
Tomorrow,
What?
Tomorrow, they'll give us.
Yeah, plus you distance yourself from it. You'll see it differently. Sometimes if you have to fight it out till the end at night, you're all riled up, and it just gets worse. Just forget about it. Go to sleep, and we'll deal with it tomorrow. Now, yes, sometimes you should take care of it before you. There's no rule. That's my complaint is there's no rule, and people who live by these books, so they only do what it says in the book. There's no rule, in my opinion. You have to know the situation. So sometimes, even though you mechuyev to ask mechila always, says the Mishnah Berurah, sometimes you wait for a different time.
The case you had with the son who was insulted, the child was insulted. Who has to give the mechila, the parent or the child?
No, it wasn't the parent. It was an extended family member.
Who was insulted?
No, a child of somebody
Who was insulted?
was abused, verbally abused by a extended family member.
The child doesn't have to be mochel.
The child has to be mochel, but the child wants to know from the father what to do, and the father has a relationship with his extended family, so he's the guy in the hot seat. No, that's push it. That's
He's just stuck in.
right. So he's the guy in the hot seat. He has to know what to do, so he dumped it on me. That's but whatever. But that's the situation. All right. So now, Aval be'erev Yom Kippurim mechuyev lesaken hakol. Why on erev Yom Kippur does it become pressing? Fascinating reason. The Mishnah Berurah says, "Kidei sheyitar mikol avonosav," because it says, "Bayom hazeh yechaper aleim mikol chatasechem." You have to get kapara today, and you can't get kapara if you have people who have complaints against you. So you're forced to deal with an issue prematurely. That's all. You have to take care of that because that's the biggest makatrik, etc. Okay. The Faisai says the Mishnah Berurah. Now this Mishnah Berurah is everything that we said, just in short. It's better that you should go yourself. You shouldn't send a shliach. Says the Sharet Zion. Oh, he doesn't bring it down. So there's all kinds of tanaim when possibly, and if you do it with a shliach, it's a lesser mechila. Okay. V'im kosher lech ba'atzol tchila sheyodea sheyoyser karav appease aidei ish emtzoi sheytavech b'neihem. Sometimes the middleman will be able to bring about a pius greater than if you have to deal with the person himself. Yachol lasos aidei emtzoi. So if there's we'll call it a pressing reason to do it with an emtzoi, then it's permissible to do it with emtzoi. But be'etzem, it's lacking. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. Sometimes you're forced to do it in a b'diavad situation. If he's not mechila the first time, yachzav yelech v'yifasenu b'chol pam. Listen to this. B'min ritzui acher. Every time you have to come with a different approach. Someone told me he was by Rabbi Elyashiv, and Rabbi Elyashiv was asked by somebody, I did something wrong to someone, I asked him mechila 3 times. What do I have to do? So Rabbi Elyashiv is no fool. He said, tell me what you said the first time, second time, the third time. And after the guy said to Rabbi Elyashiv what he said, you didn't even ask once. How's that for... You moichel me. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. All right. So the Mishnah Berurah says quite clearly each time you have to do it in a different way. Ubeshas bakorchis mechila tzorch leforet ma shechoto lechaveroi. You have to tell him what you did. Im loy kisheyedach shechaver yisbayish mizeh, he'll be embarrassed. Ukisheporet achet azay ukisheporet achet az lo yiforet oisoi. Umishu mevakesh mechila birabim bechlal. I'm standing in front of all the people of shul, and I say I would like to ask mechila from the tzibur. So does that absolve me from asking mechila for somebody that I know that I did something to them? Says the Mishnah Berurah, doesn't. Eno yoytze im yodea she'osa le'ezed yochid befrat. So what is the mathematical reason for that? I asked the tzibur, and the tzibur said, we're meichel. Because we're talking about, even if it's individual things, but as nothing that's standing out than interaction with the tzibur. But if it's something that stands out by itself, so it demands asking mechila for that in its own context. If he asked 3 times in the proper way, you're allowed to continue. If it's not going to be bizayin hatayra, by doing so. Okay. Ifnei asara. Why do you have to say this in front of 10 people? Kedei lefarsem davar shemitzido lo yivotzer. That he has done his part. But this is really an open-ended situation. We didn't really come to closure. You just did what you could do, and you can't do anymore. And this is what we'll call a yemunach. So you're pater, because there's nothing else to do. Ve'imhu rabbi, tzorach leilo kama pomim ad sheyafayis. Why should that be so?
What should that be? It's a dafen?
That was the question.
More than 3 times?
Yeah. I think the answer is quite simple. I don't think that's the answer. I'll tell you why I don't think that's the answer. Let's say it's not his Rebbe, but it's somebody else's Rebbe. It doesn't say if it's Talmud Chacham. It says it's his Rebbe. So I think that the answer is you have a greater obligation to him. Very simple. You have a greater obligation, and you're not yaitza with that which you need to do with somebody else, because the infraction that you did is within the context of the relationship, and that relationship demands that you make yourself more available and overextend yourself, or perhaps not overextend yourself.
One's parents and one's wife also.
I would imagine it's also true. A wife is a whole different obligation, much more complex. But as a parent also would have that similar kind of an idea. Okay, we'll stop over here.